Welcome back to the GSMC College Football Podcast, presented to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Just talked a little bit about some guys that could maybe win gold in 2028 with the flag football Olympic team. Gonna switch gears, gonna talk now about the ACC, a really interesting conference overall, I think. One of the big things here is the league in general is kind of in a middle ground across the broader college landscape, right? On the field, there's a team that's a trendy pick to win the national title right now. There's a handful of kind of up-and-coming contenders, and then essentially the remaining set of teams that are basically going to be a couple coin flips away from either being bowl eligible or not, or having a good year or a mediocre one. ACC, it doesn't really feel any closer to the SEC and the Big Ten right now in terms of overall potential, but it's going to be must-watch action. There's a number of different storylines kind of swirling around these 17 teams in the ACC who are all trying to make it to Charlotte for that title game in December. So, because of all this, right, there's not going to be any shortage of interest in the ACC. Even if the level of play from week to week, it might not be quite as high as some of these other leagues that we're going to see, it's still going to be entertaining football. Obviously, right now, the title favorite, it's got to be Clemson. It's the Tigers. Does Dabo Swinney kind of have his groove back? It certainly seems like that might be the case in Clemson land. Tigers return a bulk of their two-deep depth chart from last year's ACC championship winning team, and they're kind of hoping that the flukish way they made the college football playoff, and it was honestly really flukish, can kind of be that growing pain that those core group of players who are returning in 2025 can put in the back of their memory and take that, bottle it, use it moving forward as momentum to build upon for this upcoming year. This isn't just a group of good players coming back, though. There's a lot of potential for upwards of 4 first-round picks. There's some high-end talent on this Clemson Tigers roster. Cade Klubnik, obviously returning at quarterback for his third year as a starter, has a lot around him, too, in terms of returning offensive pieces. That pretty much entire wide receiver room, Antonio Williams, Bryant Wesco Jr. coming back. Those are big pieces. They have 4 starters coming back on the offensive line. You still have Peter Woods, TJ Parker on the defensive line. You have Avian Terrell at cornerback. You have a lot of pieces here coming back. Garrett Riley back as offensive coordinator should have consistency there in that scheme. And then defensively, bringing in Tom Allen from Penn State to run that unit is going to be a big upgrade for them. I would expect to see at least some medium level type of improvement from the Clemson defense. There's a lot to work with there. If there's kind of one question mark that's hovering around Clemson right now, it's probably the schedule. You have LSU week 1. You also have to play at South Carolina this year. And then in league play, you have a 4-game stretch starting in late October that includes SMU, Duke, and a trip to Louisville, which when you're looking at ACC play, that's almost as tough as it gets, right? Besides Clemson, there's kind of a couple other dark horses in the ACC this year. SMU obviously is going to be there after hanging right around getting into the college football playoff last season. I think Miami is kind of a dark horse as well. Still a really talented program there. Carson Beck coming in as the starting quarterback. It's going to be interesting. Louisville. I think Louisville is really, really intriguing this year. Won 9 games last year under Jeff Brom. Bringing in another transfer quarterback in Miller Moss, who may have the highest upside potential of any of the 3 transfer quarterbacks that Jeff Brom has brought in during his time as the Louisville head coach. You also have Colin Lacey there at wide receiver. You have a really great 1-2 punch at running back, Isaac Brown, Duke Watson. A really great defense returning for Louisville. They're a dark horse there. Aiming high then, too, you have Duke coming off a 9-win season, bringing in Darian Mensah at quarterback from Tulane. That's an intriguing roster. Georgia Tech, returning Haynes King, returning Jamal Haynes. They do lose Eric Singleton Jr. at wide receiver, but this is a team that's returning a lot and had a lot of confidence to build on at the end of the season. Can they take that Georgia loss in November, kind of turn that into some positive momentum going into 2025? I think it's certainly very possible. North Carolina, I'm going to get into them in a minute, but aiming high certainly. Then you have kind of those battling for a bowl teams. You have the Boston College, the Florida States, Syracuse is going to be interesting, coming off the 10-win season. How do they bounce back after losing Kyle McCord, losing Trevor Pena, losing Murad Watson? That's going to be an interesting situation to look at there in New York. Virginia Tech. Can Virginia Tech bounce back? There were high expectations for them and Kyron Jones in 2024. Obviously, they did not reach those. Can that be something that they maybe are able to fix? If the rain is coming through, I apologize, but we're going to get through it right now. So the ACC really kind of seems stratified coming out of spring practice right now. There's a couple programs in Stanford, Wake Forest, Cal that are kind of all trying to just stay afloat right now. There's a couple of really true contenders to make the college football playoff. Then there's, that whole middle tier where, I don't know. It could kind of go either way. If there's one key to finding separation, I think this year, it's going to come down to having a quarterback or not. You have Clemson, SMU, obviously both returning quality starters in Cade Klubnik, Kevin Jennings. And then you have Miami, Louisville, Duke, North Carolina all bringing in high-profile quarterback transfers in Carson Beck, Miller Moss, Darian Mensah, and Gio Lopez there for the Tar Heels. That's going to be interesting. How those guys play, I think, could be the difference maker in who's a legit college football playoff contender, legit ACC championship contender, and who's just pretending. One of the top storylines here, I think, Chapel Bill. It's got to be. Tar Heels, they barely even practice in 2025, yet pretty much all the greater college football world can think about is Bill Belichick. Is this actually going to work here? Will all these kind of PR off the field incidents, these recent mishaps, is it going to kill any momentum? And then just on the field in general, will this kind of NFL type of management translate? The schedule is manageable enough to give some optimism for those around Chapel Hill, kind of having an actual schematic advantage for once. But there's going to need to be some pretty weighty expectations met for this to be a success in year one. This is a program, obviously, known far more for their success on the basketball court than their success on the gridiron. But they don't simply go hire Bill Belichick, pay him $10 million, pay his staff even more than that, and then go, yeah, we're okay with the 7-5, 8-4 type years that Mac Brown had done for 5-6 years there. There's going to be a lot of casual fans turning into North Carolina, but there's some high expectations here. I don't think they would have done all of that to be okay with going 8-4 every year. So either way, just seeing Bill Belichick roam the sidelines there in Chapel Hill is going to be the top storyline here. How is it all going to shake out? What's going to happen? Another kind of under the radar storyline. With the legal settlements that Clemson and Florida State signed with the ACC that basically gives them an out of the conference in about 5 years, is it going to be all okay? The longer-term impact of the settlement of that type of agreement, it's going to take some more time to kind of fully digest, but it's not every day that a school goes out, racks up a ton of billable hours fighting this contract for the ACC, that media rights deal, and then show up to media days and go, oh yeah, everything's great. I don't know. That seems a little suspicious to me. So that's going to be something to watch. How those settlements kind of shake out. What's the fallout from there? What do other ACC programs think about that? And what could potentially happen, I think, is going to be an interesting storyline. Obviously, there's a couple of new coaches here. The big one, Bill Belichick. But you also have Jake Dicker taking over at Wake Forest after Dave Clawson stepped down. Coming across from Washington State, they're coming off back-to-back 4-8 seasons. There's no denying that this is going to be a tough job, especially kind of given this new transfer portal, NIL type era. But he's won in a lot of tough places. Could be an interesting hire. You have Stanford bringing in Frank Reich on an interim basis. Stanford in general. It's going to be an interesting program to watch this year. I don't know what's going to happen there. I think it's going to be a really tough year for Frank Reich, for Stanford in general. Then you got a couple coaches that may be on the hot seat. Tony Elliott kind of running out of time in Charlottesville there for the Virginia Cavaliers. Brent Pry at Virginia Tech kind of took a step back. Dave Doran, Pat Narduzzi, obviously two guys that have been in their respective roles at North Carolina State and Pitt for a long time. But coaches that have had some losing seasons recently, could there be a little more pressure on them? I think that's all something to watch. And then in a similar vein, Mike Norvell obviously has not lived up to expectations there, but has a crazy buyout. So I doubt Florida State gets rid of him. Going to be an interesting storyline to watch, though, for sure. So right now, we're going to take another short break. When we come back, I want to talk about wide receivers. Talk about who is wide receiver you. But we're going to talk about it. We're going to dive in, debate when we come back on the GSMC College Football Podcast.